So glad you got that.
It looks like Brace is cutting off. I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can't hear Brace.
We lost Brace.
We've lost Brace.
Folks, we've lost Brace.
Folks.
I don't think he can hear us either.
Nope. Here, let me chat him.
Oh, he can't hear us. Let's use this opportunity to talk mad shit about him.
Yeah, what the
Because he
fuck,
can't talk
man?
back.
Nope. CIA, Imperial Mercenary, Brace, KKK, Belden.
Finally got him. Finally got him.
Yes. I think we got you back.
Hear me now? Now you're.
Hello.
Yes, we got you.
It's just like this, 85-year-old Jewish grandpa.
They're actual boomers with like tech.
Yeah.
We really don't know how to do anything.
I feel like I'm at somebody's. I feel like I'm at somebody's Zoom Seder.
Honey, are you there? Are you there?
Yes. Wait. Can you hear me? You can still hear me?
Yes.
The voice recording stopped automatically because I changed mics, it says. But yeah, we're all good.
Everyone was recording.
3, 2, 1.
Smack that
As
ass
good
up.
as good as to be expected from white people.
We've all smacked our bitch up, and we're ready to go. So, just kicking things off here, Brace. I wanted to get your reaction. That's from weed. That's from weed, not coronavirus. For anyone listening here, this is not dangerous here. We are observing
You can't
quarantine.
get coronavirus from listening to a podcast.
Well, not
That
yet.
we know of.
5G, baby.
Yeah.
5G.
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
from it.
We are going to get into that, believe me, and all the future mutations of which you can get diseases from the internet. But first things first, Brace, I need your review of the air sex videos I sent you because you requested them from me the other day. And at first, when you texted me, send me air sex videos, I didn't know what you were talking about. And then it took a couple seconds, and I was like, oh, you want the YouTube clip of a sort of a group of fine young gentlemen displaying their sexual prowess on an ottoman.
Well, I'm bringing up the video once again right now, but it's called, I believe, Pretty Ricky Late Night Special.
Yes, that is it.
And to me, so what I like is it's a small group of friends, which I'm always happy to see.
Dudes rocking.
Yeah, look at that.
Liz.
Oh my gosh, we have matching Zephyr mugs. That's so cute.
Yeah. Sorry.
But I found, so there's a bunch of different guys. There's Pressure, there's Satisfaction. I can't really remember the other guys' names. But to me, Satisfaction was absolutely by and far, Satisfaction with a K, of course. It's reference to America, it's a
Satisfaction.
Exactly. And I think he does the rare move where he not only is apparently on the receiving end of the either reverse or regular cowgirl, but he in fact is imitating. There we go.
Okay,
he is bucking like not a horse, but like a bronco. It's the fluid movements of these gentlemen that really, I mean, when I have sex, it's wham, bam, done. I'm out of here. Thank you so fucking much.
Get in, get out, like the Navy SEALs.
Exactly.
This is an operation.
I think, Brace, what would help you is if you got one of these shirts, which is not so much a shirt, but like a tunic, where it not only doesn't have sleeves, it doesn't have sides.
Yeah.
I think it's all
like
about
totally
costuming. Oh,
Yeah.
Here we go.
XTC is not the good one. He's not very good.
No, he's not nearly as good. He's not as fluid.
I think he's
Not
got
at all.
some back issues.
He's sort of
Left his
stiff.
socks on.
It's stiff. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
My thing is, it appears from the motion that they're making is that they exit between every single thrust. They exit completely the woman's
Right.
vagina,
Yeah.
recede about 9 to 10 inches back from the vagina into the actual air, which I guess is why they call it air sex, and then re-enter the vagina. Which to me, the fact that they're practicing that move shows a certain dedication that you just don't see anymore.
Well, you don't want to miss.
Well,
Yeah, that could be problem.
Oh, dear
that could
God,
hurt.
no.
That can
Yeah.
hurt.
believe me,
I want to know like how they decided. I want to like a behind the scenes making of video,
A director's
interview.
commentary.
Behind the
I want to
music.
know like what day they were talking and they're like, guys, I got an idea. What if we filmed this? And or if it was like, so I've been trying this new thing, and then all of them were like, oh wait, me too. And that's how they figured out they were all
In my
into
mind, it went like this. They were sitting around like a campfire making s'mores or something. And they just started like talking about, oh man, I can't wait to have sex. I'll show you what I'll do. And then one of them's like, oh, that's nothing. I'll show you what I'm going to do. And then they just like created a little circle of demonstrating their imagined sex having. And then they were like, God damn, this is really good. People need to see this.
So there's the Chapo FYM guys put me onto this video. It's a classic, and it's from like, it was recorded like probably over 10 years ago. And the best part about the video is that there's like an end credits where the credits roll and it's like satisfaction, X2C, pressure. And then it includes their real names. And I just love the thing about like all these guys have like families now and jobs and stuff, but they're, they have an IMDb. They have an IMDb credit for like stroke game. How to
Think of how many these guys have to have at least 30 or 40 kids. They're so good at fucking.
Right.
It's very powerful.
Oh, they're
never.
best. They're like ninjas.
It's why my friend Max and I used to we knew a bunch of different 3 different guys who would do some variation of bragging about they'd say they had sex with a girl, but they'd be like, you know what? She's like really flexible. And I always thought what are you doing with that? You weigh 220 pounds and smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You literally can barely stand up under your own weight. Did she just tell you she used to do gymnastics? You don't know that firsthand. But this is like an incredibly advanced version of that. I really I like athletes no matter what sport it's in. And this takes it out of the realm of amateur, and this brings it basically to a professional level.
Well, the thing I worry about is one of them finally gets a girl with these amazing moves, and they're like, oh, I need to see that. And then he goes for it, and he just breaks his dick off in her belly button.
Yeah.
Because that really does seem to be more of where they're thrusting.
It's difficult to see where the form of another person factors.
Yeah.
And that's a key component.
Is it?
I mean, if you want to transition to, out of this realm.
No. The thing is,
no.
it's like improv. Improv used to be something actors did to become more funny or better actors. But then they decided, actually, improv is its own thing. So air fucking is now its own thing.
Oh, God,
They're
that's
not
awful.
working
It's
up
the
to anything.
Oh, it's the improv of
its
sex.
own- yeah,
that's
exactly.
terrible.
I would just
I
like
was
to
hate it now.
trying to find
Actually,
this
now I hate
video.
it.
Actually, the improv of sex is rape. But
Oh,
Yay!
even
Bleep that one. Woo!
I was
it's a
trying to
very
find this
feminist
video,
joke.
and I just YouTubed air sex because Brace and I couldn't figure out what to call it, and it turns out that there's a thing called the air sex championship,
Hell yes.
and this is like a competition that they do. Now I haven't watched these videos because I thought it was too far for me. I like to see the homegrown. I don't know if I need to see a bunch of people doing whatever they're doing on a center stage. But this is apparently a thing.
Yeah, this seems like this is the gentrified version.
I would.
It was invented by these young black guys, and now it's being commodified.
I know now it's going to be on TikTok, and then everyone's going to be doing it. It's not going to be those little viral dance videos.
Yep,
or
and they're
whatever.
going to see nothing out of it, not $1.
I would just like to point out a little bit earlier in this conversation, Beta Matt revealed himself by saying that you should think about the other person when you're having sex. No, absolute alpha mindset.
Never.
You should only be thinking about yourself. Tell your sons this.
I've always maintained that you should think about other persons, but you should just think of random other people that you
Right.
know.
Yeah, if you're trying not to nut, you should think of Henry Kissinger or Madeleine Albright.
100%. I
doing
remember
air sex to each other.
when I was younger, I heard that thinking of your grandparents was a
Yeah.
and then I did it.
And you nutted really quickly, and you were like, "What does that say about me?"
Oh, I forgot how hot my grandma was. Damn it.
This Jewess.
Yeah, what if your grandma is Helen Mirren or something?
oh yeah,
You're
Yeah.
fucked.
I'm
Yeah.
Googling what that looks like.
Okay, well, just there's a little intro, but to officially start the show, Hello, all you cool cats and kittens. This is Chapo. It's me, Amber, and Nat, and we are, of course, joined by our good friends Brace and Liz live from San Francisco. I guess before again officially starting the show, just a little bit of a house cleaning here, just to state officially on the record. Please stop asking us about Virgil. Virgil is fine. He is on a brief hiatus from the show. He is not.
He is
dead.
in a secure location.
He is not dead. We have not fired him, and it's none of your business. So please stop filling my mentions asking, "Where is Virgil? Why did you kill Virgil, Texas?" So
he just doesn't get good Wi-Fi at the Javits Center.
I thought you were going to say a Comet Ping Pong.
So. I guess to kick things off here, I haven't seen you guys since the end of our West Coast tour and probably the end of human civilization. We got you in.
Yeah, that was fun, huh?
At the real twilight of a moment that's feels very different looking back on it now. So
I have to say, I'm glad I went out that way. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a good way to get it out of your system before never having any fun again.
That was like a month ago.
Yeah,
I know. That's the thing.
insane.
It was just like a month ago. Everything was going so.
What was that? What does the meme say? What does the meme say? Life comes at you fast. Well, yes, indeed.
Yeah, no.
In retrospect, I'm really sorry for coming to that as sick as I was.
Did you have it? Do you think, Brace?
I really think I
because Will is pretty sure he had it too.
I don't think you had it because if you had it, I would have had it, and I didn't have it.
Maybe you were asymptomatic.
Or I think that I might be immune. I've convinced myself. This is
Will
what
had
quarantine
really
does.
bad-
I have all these schemes, and one of my ideas is that I'm actually naturally immune. I've convinced myself of this.
Hell yeah.
Because I haven't
You're an
had the flu
ex-woman.
since I was 4 or something.
Yeah, you're one of the X-Men.
Broads can barely even get this fucking shit anyways, right?
It's true. No, it's mostly
and it's
dudes. This is a
apparently
dude's
smokers,
rock
too.
disease, really. This is all about dude solidarity. Because dudes
die.
are way more likely to die of this shit.
Yeah,
But no, Will,
feminism.
didn't you think you had it?
Yeah. Well, I do know, I have heard from several people that I know who were at the San Francisco show that they reported symptoms shortly thereafter attending the show
Okay.
in San Francisco.
See, but the thing is that means I almost definitely had it. And if that's the case, then I must be asymptomatic completely because I haven't had anything.
Well,
At all.
I got really sick in Seattle in January or in December, and then really sick in January, and then I got sick again in March. So I think one of those times
Seattle in
had it.
January is a realistic because that's the first American city it hit.
It's
Yeah.
so fun that we get to speculate on this.
Yes.
I like
we
the
just
idea
get
of
to
Brace
guess.
bringing it to California.
my
He's
bad.
the goddamn plague rat.
I'm trying to give it to
He's a-
Yashar
he's a-
Ali.
You're the plague rat on the Venetian trading vessel.
A lot of my enemies have comorbidities, so
Well, don't we all? Jesus. I don't want to find out what my comorbidity is as I'm dying.
So, I mean, looking back on that just a brief month ago, our shining moment of triumph, we were like, Bernie's going to roll on Super Tuesday. The health of this country's economy and culture will continue to improve. Nowhere to go but up, up, up. So, looking back a month later, Brace and Liz, let me ask you first, how are you holding up under quarantine, and how are you coping with Bernie Sanders dying?
I mean, I'm okay, actually. I think I'm pretty solid. I feel like I dealt with the reality of quarantine pretty quickly compared to, I think, a lot of people. Or I was mentally already getting myself into the zone because I am a crazy person and read Reddit prepper shit and conspiracy boards for fun. But so I think I'm handling quarantine okay. Brace is you're owning quarantine.
I'm thriving, baby. I love it. This has been one of the greatest months of my life. Liz, I will say that Liz was preparing for pretty much the day after the show we did with you guys. Liz was going to the grocery store. Literally every time I talk to her, she's like, I think I'm gonna go back and buy another 400 frozen meats or whatever. I stocked up on attachments for my AR, and I've just been, I love it. I love it because I've spent so much time in like places where I can't leave, but I didn't have any books with me and I was too sick to jack off. And now I feel like fantastic. I've been exercising more. I'm mentally convinced myself that I'm also now immune from coronavirus, so there's really nothing for me to worry about. It allows me more time to really devote myself to my passion, which is reading court transcripts from pedophiles.
Neither of you two are really what you might call outdoorsy types. Am I guessing?
No, I'm Jewish.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're an indoor kid by ethnic inheritance.
Listener, Brace is pointing a gun at his phone right now, and but therefore me through Zoom, which is great. So, it's sort of similar to Brace. I feel like I've taken to quarantine pretty well because I spent most of my 20s as a failure. So, like this idea that I can't leave my apartment and like need to avoid all human interaction is like not the biggest lift for me. But a harder lift, a harder pill to swallow is the death of Bernie Sanders. So, Brace and Liz, everyone is putting their 2 cents in about this right now, given the campaign post-mortem. So, from your guys' perspective, why do you think Bernie was defeated?
Oof. I think there's like a lot of I feel like there's a lot of postmortems to be written and a lot of things to like talk through on that.
Yeah, I thought we were going to talk about 5G towers. Does this have to be a fucking bummer of an episode? We have friends visiting.
I mean, what I'll say is that I actually think that people need to take a lot more time thinking through this. I'll say that, and I think that
Yeah.
I have some ideas of my own that I've been working through, and a lot of it actually goes back to, I think, a lot of changes and responses to the 2016 election, honestly, and that within the Democratic Party, and then also what we would call the quote unquote left, however that kind of we want to shape that nebulous body that we call the left. But I think that there's just so many things, and I hear a lot of people either talking about campaign strategy or Bernie wasn't mean enough, which I kind of disagree a little bit on, and I think that kind of is missing. It's confusing the trees for the forest or whatever that saying is. It's I think the answer lies in a lot more of the kind of structural changes within the Dem primary electorate. And how the quote unquote left responded to those changes and also to the Trump election. I think it was. I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not being eloquent at all. There's
how
a lot
about
of
this?
stuff
How
to
about this?
work through.
How about this? Instead of offering our poorly thought out takes on this, can I share with you guys another analysis of the election? And maybe we can react to that. So, Chris, can you clue up the clip of our good friend Ezra Klein talking on the Vox podcast? So I'm gonna share this with you guys now. Let's just listen to another podcast.
I think I've heard this. Was that? I thought that was Sean. Oh no, it was just him.
It was. This is Ezra Klein interviewing Sean McElwee about why.
God.
Fuck.
There seems to me to have been a split. In that period, the people who loved tweeting about and demanding and fighting for abolish ICE combined folks who I think now looking back, some of them wanted to change laws. And I think some of them don't. I think that there is a part of the left that is committed to doing the difficult, transactional, compromise-oriented work of politics. And there is a part of the left that a couple years ago looked like the same thing, but has clearly shown itself to not be, that is not trying even really to get people elected. They would have liked Bernie Sanders to get elected, but they're not going to do the kinds of things that hurt to get there, right? They're not going to make the alliances, make the compromises, not say some things they think are true about the world, not pick some fights they would like to pick in the world. And that there seems to me to be a bit of a split, and it's why your invocation of the Tea Party there as nihilistic is interesting to me. I don't want to call us part of the left nihilistic, but I would call it anti-system, that there are folks here who want to take over the system with more left-leaning ideas, and there are folks here who I think just want to be in a fight and be pure and show that they're not part of something that is corrupt and transactional and dirtying and on the wrong side of history. And watching sort of people sort themselves into different sides of that has been one, very interesting to me as somebody reporting on all this, but I think something that you've been very involved in and have been trying both through your organization and through your sort of presence socially and otherwise to draw pretty sharp distinctions on.
That's Ezra Klein.
Yeah, that's Ezra Klein.
Okay, that was really triggering for my misophonia. I could hear every wet little spittle in his mouth. They need to turn down the fucking sensitivity of that microphone. I couldn't even hear anything.
Someone saying both abolish ICE and folks in the same sentence is my MK Ultra trigger.
I gotta say, I guess I'll just admit it. I think that his framing of it is wrong and bad, obviously, and from the point of view of an establishment Democrat. But the split he identifies is real. It's just that it's the actual split between like a strategy of like class politics and left liberalism. Like that's the distinction. He frames it as like the realists and the Puritans, but it's really distinct like strategies for like underlying ideology of like like political economy and also tactics.
I just don't know who he's talking about other than like left Twitter.
Yeah. Well, that's who he's talking about.
Like
that's who he's talking
that's
about.
the only
but then,
left that exists.
And that's okay. So fine. Like then let's talk about that. But it seems it's so these guys do this same thing where it's like I don't mind talking about left Twitter or whatever, but they refuse to even like acknowledge that that's what they're talking about, and rather than say that, they try to like extrapolate it into a larger political discussion, like as if this is like they're actually.
Well, that's how Sean McElwee got to be a name. Was just by working left. Like he literally just tweeted a catchphrase long enough that it became a meme, and then all the press is like, "Wow, this guy is the leader of a new political movement."
But the thing
and it was
it
was all ginned up on Twitter.
Well, yeah.
Well, you forget all of the mixers at that bar, whatever the fuck it was called, where he would get like 3 inches from your face and breathe hotly.
Monstrous.
I think this is like really an important point because it is true that Sean McElwee, however you say his name or whatever, who, by the way, I don't care for very much at all.
Not a fan.
Down on that guy.
Not a fan.
But it's like, yeah, he tweeted a fucking thing, and eventually every Democratic politician had to adopt this ridiculous stance. I mean, I think it's like in their party platform, and the Democrats, took it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so there is something to what Ezra Klein is talking about when he's talking about this like media ecosystem, and I think that it would. Do everyone like, or I think it's better to acknowledge that exists than try to deny that it is real, I guess, is what I'm saying.
My thing is that, of course, these are the same people who think that, we're going to push Joe Biden left, which is the most ridiculous. It's a notion so divorced from any sort of, politics, let alone, socialism that I recognize.
Wild insanity.
It's just, you talk about nihilism?
Yeah. Look at forget, first of all, you have the person of Joe Biden, and then you have their record. He is the perfect avatar of reactionary Democrat. Mm-hmm. There's no way he would ever become a leftist in office. And then if you just say, no, it's not him, it's the people around him, who are you talking about? The DNC, who are willing not only to cheat in voting and in counting votes and in meddling with campaigns and in having deals with the media to do propaganda against Bernie and then kill people. That's what they were all willing to do to stop Bernie. In what universe are they going to compromise in any meaningful way? How are they ever going to give you anything other than a mere sop to pacify you?
Well, why? Why would they? It's
exactly. They have the whip hand. They won.
Exactly. They have white women. Something I've been trying to get for 30 years now is the Democrats. They have suburban white women, and it's so funny to see. I mean, it's not funny. It's a little. I mean, it is actually funny.
It's funny. It's allowed to be.
In the Joker-fied world, it's very funny.
I mean, I think the good thing out of this is maybe people can see that for some reason everybody believed the Democrats in 2016 when they said socialism was racist, and that it was problematic,
or they didn't believe it, but they felt like they couldn't be the one to say, "I don't believe that."
It's like the same thing with the labor, Jeremy Corbyn's an anti-Semite. It's like you have to pretend that it's true, even though you know it's not true. Even though you know it's not fucking true. You have to pretend it's true, so somebody who will always hate you forever might have a chance of not hating you. That is never gonna. The media is always gonna hate you, even if people think that if we put AOC as the progressive.
Yeah, exactly.
God
they couldn't do to her what they did to Bernie.
Yeah, but they will do it to her.
They'll do whatever.
I mean, I don't think. I don't think AOC is a threat to anyone.
Well, I'm saying if you put up,
they're not going to go after AOC. She's on their team.
Well, right,
now.
because she's going to play ball. But I'm saying even if you had a hypothetical AOC who didn't play ball, they'd still find a way to stitch her up.
I mean, I think her whole media charade where she's coming out talking about talking all this shit I'm not gonna. Joe Biden hasn't called me. He doesn't care about me. And it's because you have no power.
Also, because he has a rotary phone, and it's very exhausting for him to just keep making.
It's
hey, Jack, give me conduct 5402 AOC. Connect me.
Yeah, it's this is back to the we're gonna push him left bullshit that we were talking about, and it's in what world does Joe Biden and care? First of all, AOC is I will eventually support the nominee, but also I'm gonna throw a shit fit in the New York Times that he hasn't called me and doesn't want me to campaign for him. It's first of all, you're very polarizing. I don't know if anyone's looked at she's not 100% popular.
Yeah, a lot of people assume,
really
if she was the nominee, she'd win easily, and it's that's not true. She might win, but it would be another culture war coin toss.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm people get mad at me of how critical I am of her, but I don't think she's a very talented politician. But
no, she snuck in through the back door, which no one really wanted to admit. I mean, people worked hard for her campaign, but it was just no one was watching the shot.
They caught him sleeping.
So the thing that I take issue with is you're saying I'm going to eventually vote for the nominee, but what I'm upset at is that you're not catering to me. You're not kissing my feet. And it's in what world would they even need to? It's such a weird inflation. And I'm not even talking about her specifically, but just talking about other people too. And it's
Yeah, it does seem like she's a little more insulted that she's not being included in a system that she sort of got elected for criticizing. It's very kind of, I don't know. It's very kind of there's some weird mafia etiquette that I don't understand. Joe Biden hasn't called me on this, the day of my daughter's wedding. I don't understand.
Yeah, totally.
I don't understand. She just seems offended.
But it's what leverage are you holding? You're saying that you're going to vote for him. So, who cares?
What?
Amber, may your first child be a progressive child.
By the way, I'm marrying her daughter in that. Hypothetical there.
Well, okay, so one vision of this is that there's two sides to the left. The side that just wants to, fight and throw bombs on Twitter, and then the side that wants to, get serious about making compromises and work within the system to have a seat at the table. And you all know what we feel about that. The idea that forget the left, whatever that means. The idea that even liberals or progressives in the Democratic Party are going to have a big voice in the direction of it going forward is
history is clear.
Yeah.
There's no arguing with the facts of the case.
Joe Biden, if he gets elected president, could be the greatest president of modern history if he just spends all his time undoing the things that he did as a senator. But that's not going to happen. That's he is who he is. We know these people. So speaking from another vision, this is what I want to ask Brace and Liz, because you've been pioneering I don't know, a mindset, a concept, a sort of a new epoch in our life and politics, and that is something called Phase 2.
Oh, absolutely.
So could you explain to our listeners, and if you're a Chapo listener who's not into TrueAnon, this is your yet another opportunity to get on board. But in case you don't know, could you explain to us and our listenership what is Phase 2?
The phase 2 for me is we're entering an entirely new world. There is going to be, I actually haven't checked the numbers today, but they released the unemployment numbers on Thursdays. and I am very interested to see what they are. There's going to be like at least 32% unemployment pretty soon. And that's like the Fed's estimate, so it's probably going to be higher than that. So no matter what, that's the thing, is like you could talk about canvassing for Joe. You're not going canvassing for Joe Biden, not even these old people, because there's not going to be canvassing. There might be, but not like, and it's going to be totally different than anything that we've experienced before. I mean, there's an economic collapse happening right now. And I think people don't really get that it's happening because we're all sitting inside. If you're like me,
yeah. It's like the world is ending, but it's in slow motion.
Exactly.
It's like, instead
so
of
boring.
Instead
It's
of
so-
like in Independence Day, a bunch of people running away from a wall of flames, it's a bunch of people just slowly turning into raisins in their individual apartments.
It's literally, no one ever tells you how boring a crisis can be.
awful. Yeah.
Not with a bang, but a goddamn whimper.
That in the Soviet Union, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like, I think a cool, like getting into phase 2 mindset is important, because I think that when we get out of this thing, the world is actually going to look really similar, and it's going to fuck with your head.
I honestly am scared that is the most likely outcome.
But the problem
I've been thinking
is,
about that.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
nothing's
the
really
thing
going to change. That's the most perverted and jokerfied possible outcome.
I think stuff will change, but it will look eerily similar.
Yeah.
And we'll all be expected to like, see, it's fine, it's normal, right? We're like, no, it's not. A thing definitely happened. I remember it. I was there. I cut my bangs.
It's like your neighborhood will look like, when you emerge from your quarantine cave, like your neighborhood will look pretty much the same, except all of the nice little wine bars and little like boutique grocery stores that you used to go to will now be like plasma selling centers owned by Jeff Bezos.
I mean, that's the thing, is like we're going to see an insane consolidation of industry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like it's there's kind of two kinds of people, really three kinds of people in the world right now. A, there's podcasts who can do 500 push-ups a day, podcast hosts, excuse me. B, there's almost everybody I know who's been fired from their jobs and is now their job or their work is closing after this, and they're either right now working at DoorDash or Amazon or any of these places, and they're servicing the group C, which is all the people who can work from home.
Yeah.
Basically all the people whose offices are, whose
And now,
offices didn't close.
as shit like Amazon, like their workers are staying home in droves because they're afraid of getting sick, and now they're doing this mass hiring to get people in there who are even more desperate and are willing to risk it. He's literally drafting from the reserve army of labor.
Yes.
Well, it's also to the point now where I think people think of like the gig economy or whatever you want to call it as being something that like they used to sort of think of it as like it had a latte effect where they thought, oh, you people ordering your DoorDash and whatnot. But it's like, no, we're to the point where gig economy workers are gig economy consumers, and everyone is working for Uber so they can afford their own Uber.
Yeah, totally.
Like, it's insane. It's cyclical.
The way what that ends up in, how does it not end up, especially now with this huge collapse in value and this ability for like the rich to liquidate, the way that they're going to have a capital gains tax cut to ease liquefying assets so that they can just totally create a world monopoly. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the only outcome of this.
Just like
one
working
entity
at, like,
buying out everything.
Yeah, at like the Amazon, Grubhub, Lyft company store.
Pfizer,
so that we can,
fucking Raytheon, like all of it one giant, Bezos octopus.
Yeah, I think it's what's going to be really interesting. I keep saying this, but it's like really interesting to see just how much slack Bezos is going to be able to pick up. And I think we're going to be really shocked to see like what he can. And I think the other side of that too is like, I made a joke about pod housing, but like that micro housing is coming. I mean, there are going to be developers salivating at buying up hotels because the entire travel and like vacation economy is pretty much collapsed. Like or tourist economy or whatever, and you're going to see a lot of hotels be bought up by private equity and turned into safe micro housing for pod living.
Well, I mean, you brought up hotels and housing people, which reminded me of the efforts in San Francisco right now to house homeless people in empty hotels, and the like how hard that is to do, and that what your mayor is doing instead of that. Could you talk about that for a second?
So London Breed, our mayor, which I understand it's a cool like racehorse style name, but this lady fucking sucks at.
She sucks.
She
sucks.
fucking sucks. She's awful.
I have it on good authority that she is a girl boss.
She is a girl boss. But there are around 9,000 homeless people in San Francisco and 30,000 empty hotel rooms. San Francisco has an $11 billion budget. But London Breed decided there was a huge outpouring of support for housing people in hotels. Hotels, as you can imagine, are fucking dirt cheap right now. There's a bunch for $40. Instead, what she decided to do was to create giant concentration camps in the Moscone Center, and in fact, the place where we played with you guys in
Palace of Fine Arts.
Palace of Fine Arts.
Jesus Christ,
That's become like a Hooverville now. Jesus Christ.
Well, so they turned those into a Hooverville for literally a day before it came out that like all of the shelters in San Francisco, one in particular, MSC South, was like filled with coronavirus.
Oh
like,
God,
everybody
they got the
had
Rona.
hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, I think it's like a couple hundred now, but there's like way more people haven't been tested. And the Board of Supervisors, which is, we are city and county, so it's like city council, brought like legislation, I believe Tuesday, to officially legally require them to house homeless people in hotel rooms. And the mayor is now just refusing. She's refusing to sign. Because it's pretty clear that they just want to get the numbers down. I mean, the homeless population is a sort of blight on San Francisco to people like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a blight on San Francisco.
Fucking Trump was threatening to like send the National Guard in there.
Yeah, and like this is a great distraction. Her like this guy she's been fucking for like 20 years. Mohammed Nuru, the inventor of Nuru Massage. Our Department of Public Works head just got arrested by the FBI for corruption, blah, blah, blah. And there is a sort of movement to get the buildings that he worked on, like because he was part of these real estate scams, turned over to homeless people to use as apartments, but she's stonewalling all of it. So you're seeing, it's like the same thing with Cuomo, is like people outside of New York are like, look at this fucking guy. He's doing so good. He's like a little Italian guy that can read. It's amazing. And then
Check out them nipples. Hey.
And it's the same thing, like outside of San Francisco, all these people are like talking about London Breed like she's some savior, but she has actually been blocking it. And I know for a fact that she's blocking it because some of the legislation is coming from Dean Preston, Democratic Socialist city council member here, who ran against her in 2016, and that's why she's blocking it.
Like, that's so cool.
you brought
Very
Literally
girl
killing
boss.
people out of petty spite.
You brought up Cuomo, and we had Josh Androsky on our Twitch stream the other day, and he just said that like he's really glad right now that like the media is basically literally like physically like secluded in New York and DC, because if they were doing to Gavin Newsom what they're doing to Cuomo right now, he would have to do like a parody situation.
Oh my God.
Like,
You know what?
a real dead zone kind of like
because Cuomo's
Stillman.
killing too many people. I think they're going to end up having to switch to Newsom.
Yeah.
Newsom, I'm surprised Newsom hasn't like decided to have his own TV channel like Cuomo.
Yeah. No, because like Cuomo basically had the East Coast media advantage.
Yeah.
That was what it all boiled down to. And it's like it can stand by itself as long as he doesn't have more deaths than everyone else in the world every day.
Yeah.
And so that kind of undermines the point. So like I think Newsom's in the back pocket as like the third option.
Wait,
I
did
think
you
he
see
knows
the
it, too.
stuff
I
that
think the
Chris
fucker
Cuomo
knows it.
said? Did you see?
Yeah, he's
He
really
came
pissed.
out-
He doesn't want to do his job anymore because he can't tell people.
Oh,
like,
what a little! I
No, no,
hate
like,
it.
what
I thought that was
happened?
like a
Wait,
deal.
what happened?
Okay, whatever.
Okay,
So
Chris
basically, Chris Cuomo
came out and he was like, because he got coronavirus, and I guess he like
Rona.
saw God or whatever.
Yeah, seriously.
But he like came out of it and he was like, I don't feel comfortable lying to people on
bullshit.
TV. He had like a network moment.
Yeah, no, you
No.
build it up.
Liz, he also
The
said
world is
though.
bullshit.
He also said that like the one of the impetus for this was like some guy on the street was just like, "Hey asshole, you suck," and he was just like, because
That's
of my
weird,
job.
though, because that just happens to everyone in New York literally every day.
Well,
He took it to heart though. He took it to heart, and he said that like because of my job, like I can't yell back at him, hey, fuck you, buddy, like your mother's a pig. And he's just like, I've lost that freedom to like be a real human being by being this like idiot puppet on TV all the time.
You should be a
like,
podcaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just so
They
hilariously
probably, like,
petty.
Dragged him back out to the wherever they take blue checks for their re-education camp.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Makes the hysteria of like checkmark Twitter about their mentions and about being harassed make sense. Like this guy had basically a nervous breakdown because he was confronted in the street by somebody who just said he sucked. These people cannot handle criticism or direct contact with the public. Their brains explode.
It's so weird. I'm just like,
it sounds like there was a
mute your
build,
tweets.
though.
Why do these people care?
It sounds like there was like an event and like the person yelling at him was the straw.
I think
that
the
broke
coronavirus thing was the thing. That was the breaking point.
Matt, it was more about the getting coronavirus than the,
Probably.
the,
Wait,
the
why was
daily
this
occurrence of being
motherfucker on the
yelled at.
street?
Yeah, exactly. He should have been yelling at him.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Where the right wing has the advantage is I remember in 2016 at the Trump rallies seeing people just pointing at the media and like yelling that they're pigs and they're rope
press.
Exactly. Rope tree journalist.
It'll just say blue check instead.
That is a tremendous advantage because now so many people of like the particular, like not even just like the crazy, like really like Trump people, but like a lot of people are sort of, it's in the mainstream right, don't trust the media. And they're right about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was like, one of the big I mean, honestly, I feel like the ultimate cause of why Bernie lost is going to take a long time to sift through, and I don't trust anyone who has an easy answer. But if you want to talk proximate causes, I think the proximate cause, as far back as you can go, is the fact that 80% of Democrats trust the media.
Yeah, Matt Karp had a tweet that put
I think that was 100% correct.
Trust in like it measured the Republican and Democrat like trust in the media, which is strange because they both have their same boutique media things to choose from. Yep. And even the right is still more skeptical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
but
so
the media really disciplined the like new Democrat like electorate real quick, right? Because I mean, and that's kind of what I mean by going back to 2016, because it's like, okay, you've got, not only do you have an electorate that really is moving rightward, right? You've got the Democrats now, after 2018, have 10 out of the 10 wealthiest districts in the country. Like, okay, so that's a change in the electorate that you're talking to. In addition to that, you've got 4 years of everyone, including Bernie, by the way, screaming about how Trump was a fascist. That's an incredible like disciplinary tool. Okay, if Trump is a fascist, then fuck, Joe Biden's better than him, right? So it's like all of these, I guess, it's like a really weird thing, because in addition to that, then you had a whole kind of little like group of McElwees and whatevers kind of like actually doing that kind of like Overton push the Democrats left. So it's like this weird contradiction that needs to be worked out, where you have, someone said something like Joe Biden will be the most progressive.
Oh, yes.
President
They're
ever.
talking about what's on his website.
But this is the thing, is that there's truth to that, because Joe Biden will be the most quote unquote progressive, but nothing will change.
Right.
Like there needs to be like these things need to be separated, I guess, from each other. Where it's
that's a really good point.
Like Joe Biden will do all of these things that are quote unquote progressive values. He will be better than climate than any other president before or whatever. But nothing will change for American workers. Nothing will change structurally.
No.
So this is a contradiction that the left, whatever we're calling it, needs to get worked out.
Yeah,
Well,
because all that progress just ends up being the fig leaf justification for maintaining support for this party that doesn't change anything.
Yes. With sheepdogging, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
But Liz, you're really underestimating the fact that he saw two men kissing once and his dad said it was okay.
I love that story
wait.
so much.
European.
It's so insane. It's like,
Yeah. You call that a French hello. You say good day, sir. And you just go there and near with your tongue and give him a howdy do.
Also, in the year 1902, he said, no,
Yes.
he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yeah, they were walking down the boardwalk. They were both wearing pinstriped seersucker suits and had straw boater hats on.
But I want to go back to something
Steve
that
Buscemi blowing a guy.
I want to go back to something that Liz said, where they about the blackmail, the kind of fear-mongering blackmail, which I think we don't talk about enough. But essentially, anyone who wanted more than the sort of right-wing Democrats that ended us up with Trump was immediately accused and smeared and accused of being insufficiently vigilant against some fascist threats.
Yeah.
And I said this pretty early on. I said, well, look, here's what I'll say. If I was a liberal and I saw, say, a resurgent interest in social democratic policies, I think it would be very beneficial to me to look at, say, a rightward turn that was happening, maybe inflate the actual threat of legitimacy they had, and say, now is not the time. If you don't form an alliance with the liberals right now, actually, the fascists will take over. Fascism is coming, and it's because you want too much. It's because you're asking for too much.
I would extend the benefit of the doubt that for some of those people at the time were acting in good faith, that they actually were concerned and thought that this was like the real priority.
Certainly,
yeah.
because it wouldn't work if there wasn't like an earnest group of people to manipulate.
Suckers.
But if at this point, if you can't look back on it and see the role that played, I don't know what to tell you. It's very plain.
The problem
like
was
what the
that there
mechanism
was no
there.
way for a counter narrative to emerge, right? It was like I don't know. I don't think there was any counter narrative, like mainstream. Okay, it's not mainstream, but like mainstream left, at least, counter narrative to Russiagate or to fascism or to, and I'm just talking about the kind of like the way, because we were talking about media, right? So in these like media disciplinary narratives, there wasn't really a kind of company line that could be taken to produce a counter narrative to that.
And I think Bernie specifically was constrained because I was always annoyed. I would have kind of grit my teeth whenever he would emphasize in his speeches like how Trump is the most dangerous president ever and the worst and all that stuff.
Yes.
And
No, he's not.
pathological
No, he's
liar
not.
and all that. And I was just like, but the thing is that was the real trap Bernie was in, is because he always was pitching to two audiences. He was trying to pitch to people disaffected, like apolitical people working class people who aren't part of the Democratic electorate. But then he also he couldn't get none of the Democratic electorate. So he has to pitch to the language of those people. And those people have been soaking in those media narratives and completely believe them. And there's also a mechanism for, if Bernie doesn't kiss the ring on how bad Trump is, well, then you can play the Russia card. You can play the 2016 card, and it works because they believe all that shit. They're already pre-programmed.
But I also think Bernie believes it. Like, I believe him that he thinks that Trump is the most...
But that's still that was a real imperative.
I don't know what's in Bernie's heart. I don't think he tends to say things cynically. But I think if you were to actually press him on this, it's like, Donald Trump has not been a more dangerous president to the world than W. Bush.
No.
George W. Bush blew up the Twin Towers.
Exactly.
Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ.
I want to talk about this now because it talks about now that Biden has won and whatever sort of nascent left has been tamped down and defeated, it's clear that the Democratic Party, what they view their future as, what they're going all in on are the suburban white women voter, and that they're not even going to make any even half-hearted attempts to connect with working class or rural voters or people who have dropped out of politics. And I think it's very telling because of that, in the reactions to this crisis about what's being prescribed by our two dueling political parties. So along that line, has anyone got their Trump check yet for $1,300?
Trump bucks.
I don't know if I got it.
I am being paid by the Trump campaign to spread smears about Joe Biden, but not.
I thought you were being paid by the Democrats to spread corona.
Yes.
Look, you got to wet your beak with both of them.
Yeah, you gotta
He's
play
going,
both
he's doing
sides.
two sides. He's Yojimboing it.
Well, yeah, he's doing the, and also just back to really briefly, San Francisco creating a Hooverville at the Palace of Fine Arts. In retrospect, even more irresponsible because we've basically established that the Chapo TrueAnon show there was the original cluster in San Francisco.
Yeah, no, we literally.
Yeah,
We're
we-
super
That
spreaders.
place is cursed land.
we coughed over everything in that green room. But so for like the $1,300 check, right? And like Steve Mnuchin was on TV the other day saying he thinks that $1,300.
Mnuchin.
The producer of Suicide Squad, who's currently the
Yes.
Treasury Secretary of the United States, went on TV the other day
So much.
and said $1,300 should be enough for any American to live on for 10 months.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Which
Right.
is
Amazing.
fucking is grotesque.
It's $110 a week.
Especially since they allowed banks to fucking dock it if you owed them money.
Yes. Yes.
So it's a
I-
direct subsidy to fucking lenders.
Yeah,
Yes.
I fucking hate him so much.
Disgusting.
Remember that photo of him and his like fucking plastic Barbie wife?
She's
Oh,
hot.
God,
no,
that's
no,
awful.
no, no.
She's
Don't do
pretty
this.
hot. She's
Fuck
a little,
you.
She's kind of silky.
How could you
She's
say
kinda nice
this?
with it. I'm not gonna lie.
She is absolutely nice. She's great
Wait,
with
what?
it.
Give me a
it's-
name. Give me a
no,
name.
it's-
I will be the
she-
deciding factor on
that
this.
photo is incredibly based.
I can't remember what her name is, but
With the
Steve
Louise
Black and
Louise Linton.
with the
Louise
gloves.
Linton with the black. She's a
yes.
former actress.
By the
Yeah.
way, to all my online
She's like
invest-
our age, Will.
to all
Amazing.
to all our online investigators out there, please
Okay.
please find her Instagram and all of her posts about all the sessions she does with her Pilates instructor.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
I will say a lot of
Very
guys.
interesting.
She
I
is.
guarantee you Mnuchin isn't like a proud cuck.
I mean, this woman is like a Real Housewife type, but
Yeah,
we
yeah,
know
yeah,
that
exactly.
we know that is what
And I
these
always
men
find
folk
those
are
hot.
into.
Kinda hot.
I hope
kinda
that they
find those
bring her
housewives
on
hot.
next season.
I'm not
Well,
gonna lie.
Matt's dream woman is Kellyanne Conway, so just
She's
take that.
hotter, Kellyanne
you got me
Conway.
there.
Here's the
You got
thing.
me there. She's
Ever
the
since
time.
Julia Fox blocked me from her Instagram on all my accounts, this lady has been my number one go-to. Fall asleep looking at the screen.
But like to my original point, right? Like it is grotesque and absurd to think of the one $1,300 check is what Trump and the Republicans are offering. That is, a million strings attached to it, and the Democrats are making a big issue of that. Like they delayed it because Trump, brilliantly, in my opinion, wanted to make sure that the
Yes.
checks had his name on it, so that when people
Genius.
got that $1,300, they were like, "Oh,
Trump
this
bucks.
is from." Yeah, this is
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. President.
Smart.
This is from
and then
the Trump.
these smug liberals
That's
are
like smart politics.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
No, these smug liberals are saying, I'm sorry, that they're going to care more about that $1,200 check than they are about the fact that he was incompetent in responding to Corona or that it's insufficient. It's like, bitch, it's a fucking check, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
that's-
those
that's-
people complaining don't
And what
actually
are
need the
Democrats
$1,200.
Yeah,
What
Yeah.
are
that's like
Democrats giving you to contrast with it?
Yeah,
So,
these
like,
people would. I mean, it's literally like they have no concept of how people in a crisis respond to anything. Like these are the people who could never understand why Patty Hearst became a terrorist. It's like they kept her in a closet for a week and then they gave her a cupcake and she's like, "You're my new best friend." That's how
You know
it
who
fucking
put
works.
his name on all kinds of shit? FDR.
Yes.
Yeah,
Social
also-
Security was
yeah.
explicitly, this is basically a check from the president.
Yep.
I mean, I love all these people too. Brace and I were talking about this. It's like I love all these people that like anime communists who fetishize, the aesthetics of the Soviet Union, and then are like quaking in their boots that a leader would make sure everyone knew they had his face and his name was on something.
Cult of personality. No, thank you.
It fucking
but, like-
makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense.
I would.
Literally,
I'd do
it should be a gold novelty
It's
check.
politics.
I want it
It's
to be a
politics,
fucking
baby.
publisher's
Like, yeah,
clearinghouse.
publisher's
check.
clearinghouse.
If I was
yeah.
writing if I was writing those checks, I would make sure that like my signature on it was blown up real big. John Hancock. It's like you know who butters your bread. You know who's taking care of your baby.
So-
taking care of your
He's
baby.
got an iconic signature too.
So-
Yeah,
Obvi-
where it's like it looks like a fucking arithmetic heart monitor. There's
So-
like
the
way too
heartbeat
many
of the
lines in it.
nation.
There's
Donald
like
Trump's
5 or
signature.
6 unnecessary spikes in there.
This is what I'll say is that, it's like most people want to go back to work because they want to fuck their job back. They want their fucking paycheck back. They just lost their job and their savings. And the only person talking about the fucking economy is Donald Trump. And you've got Democrat. He's like, okay, we're going to reopen on May 1st, setting aside whether or not that will happen or whether or not that's a good thing or what that even fucking means. I don't know. But then you've got the Democrats in Congress being like, but we're not going back to Congress until May 4th. It's like, he's literally the only person.
He is the only person
the economy.
there. Okay.
Meanwhile,
and then these middle class liberals are like, so they're like, what? This is to save lives. This is to save lives. And it's like, yeah, because you can work from home, you dumb motherfucker, with your bullshit graphic design job.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, everyone else, even if they are worried or scared, they're like, well, I will also die if I do not have money to eat.
Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi's big public presentation is, here, check out the ice cream in my twin $15,000 Sub-Zero fridges.
So cool.
Hey, peasants. Do you like Rocky Road to go with the cake? You fucking hogs.
So I bring up the Trump check as like that, you know, like on its face, like a wholly inadequate, just a grotesque spectacle in every way. But like it would be easier to make that case if there was an alternative being articulated. And the reason that $1,300 check, the Democrats can't sneeze at it, because one of the things they're offering for people who have lost their health care is fucking Cobra.
You're a disease, and I'm the cure.
And I'm going to read this now. I'm going to read this here now. This is a new bill from House Democrats, previewed exclusively to Vox, aims to give laid-off or furloughed workers a way to stay on their health insurance plan at no extra cost to them through increased subsidies with the existing health insurance plan, Cobra. House Democrats' bill would expand Cobra to cover 100% of the cost of a person's health insurance premiums. Importantly, it would also cover 100% of premiums for furloughed workers, temporary laid-off workers whose employers have promised they will return to work when economic conditions improve and who still have health insurance through their employer. So a subsidized version of Cobra is what is being offered as the lifeline here to people. Like you said, Brace, what will be 30% of the country who have lost their jobs and or their health insurance through their employer.
I'm the last person to talk about Cobra because I've never had health insurance before 2 months ago. But I mean, it's insane. Like it's. I just don't know like what politics are trying to do here. I mean, I guess I do. But it seems like there's so much more, perhaps, that they could do that they're choosing not to, that it confuses me.
It's amazing that their first instinct is, oh, shit, we need to subsidize the insurers.
Yeah, it's brutal, horrible.
It's awful.
And the way they have fought against, during the whole bailout stuff, fought against the government getting equity in any company that it bails out.
Yes.
Which is just mind-blowing. That's just breathtakingly corrupt.
And to any normal person, like, you know, feeling anxiety or like, you know, suffering in this crisis, like what is more attractive to you? One check for $1,300 that's like direct deposit into your checking account, as paltry as that is, or having to figure out how to use fucking Cobra? Or like whether you qualify for the subsidy.
Getting a tax rebate on next year's return, which is what Nancy's alternative was to the check.
Yeah, Cobra, it's great. It's ideal. It's perfect because not only is it a terrible, shitty, vulturistic service, it's also incredibly complicated to use.
Yeah,
and expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, you've lost your job and source of income. Would you like some health insurance that's more expensive than the one you had when you were employed? And
Would you like something very expensive, very bad, totally opaque to navigate, and I
really just think it's a bailout to the insurance companies.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Even if
they know that no one is going to be using any of their money to buy it, because I'm sorry, but health insurance in this country is a luxury.
Yeah.
So no one is going to be running to the ACA exchanges, even if to use their Trump bucks to buy insurance, which, by the way, I mean, what is it now? It's like, what is a bronze pro? I mean, I think it's like $6,000 deductible is still like $300 a month.
It's absurd. Yeah,
it's insane. And so it's like literally all they're doing was like,
even with
shit,
Cobra,
our buddies in the health insurance, company are going to need a bailout, but that's too politically,
Considering how much money the average American...
Nancy Pelosi. Sorry. I'm just picturing Nancy Pelosi at the top of like a bell tower, like Klaus Kinski, just ringing the bell saying this town will not have a church until you open the exchanges. Like,
But considering
it's amazing how much like kind of histrionic passion they're putting into the opening the exchanges talks.
But considering how much the average American has saved at any given time, most people, I would say most people would run out of money before they hit their deductible on a Cobra plan.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
And
Without
even if
money coming in from a new job.
And even if, according to the text of the bill, we're going to subsidize 100% of the premiums on Cobra, like Liz is right, that is still a taxpayer bailout of private insurance
it doesn't
companies.
make it easier or cheaper for you.
And
it just
also-
makes it more money for them.
Also, the whole thing about Cobra is that there's like a sunset clause in it. It's only supposed to last you like 6
Yep.
months till you get to your next fucking job. So they're just going to do this indefinitely because Cobra is a health insurance plan with a lifespan. Like that, it's like, what is it, 6 to 9 months or something like that? And, again, without subsidy, it's more expensive than what you'd be paying otherwise, but it's just slightly less expensive than what you'd be paying on the individual market.
I think at this point,
and I think,
they're
wait,
just
real
in
quick,
crisis.
I think I read that in this election cycle, the health insurance industry and lobbies accounted for something like almost half of the money given to Democrats in this lobby. It's like, that is the fucking answer. Like, that is the explanation to all of this shit, to everything they
And
did to
shouldn't
Bernie.
that tell everybody who thinks that you can't have single payer, why would they spend all that goddamn money if it was impossible?
Like,
Right.
every ludicrous
Well,
thing that they
it's
did
not
to
even,
stop.
and it's not just the insurers; it's also pharma. You have to
Yep.
remember because
Yes.
that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
massive
Oh, yeah.
part
Oh, my God.
too. Because that's the drug and you're seeing this with fucking Corona right now. I think you're seeing like all this weird backtracking on what treatments work all throughout the world because the pharmaceutical companies need to make sure that they can get their cash grab in if it comes out that something over the counter is actually making people better.
And like I said, this is the explanation basically for like the most convincing, like the only fact you kind of need to keep in mind, like when you ask yourself like what happened or why did they do this, or like why did they do all these extraordinary measures to stop even like the modest success of Bernie Sanders in this primary. And the answer is, it's like, on the one hand, you've got people through organizing or campaigning or like trying to build a democratic movement to take over the Democratic Party to get people health care so that they can live, and then now are being asked to work within the system to push the Democrats left.
Yes.
On one hand, and on the other hand, you have literally the hundreds of billions of dollars in private profit made by the pharmaceutical and health insurance industry. Gee, I don't know who's gonna win this tug of war.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
This is also why moving forward, like focusing on Medicare for all as a policy is so essential for just political messaging, because that's what this election was about.
Yes,
And
yes, it
On
was.
both sides, on both
it's
sides.
absolutely changed the language around it. What we can do with that, I don't know.
Well, no,
At
it's
this
not
point-
just that. It's like, this is, okay, you want to know how corrupt and undemocratic our system is. This issue is the perfect example. It is textbook. It is how you know the fix is in, because they did everything they possibly could to stop. The Democrats, too.
Yeah.
The Democrats wanted nothing more than to prevent people from having socialized health care.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's also like the people that you're supposedly are supposed to be on your side, right? Like, so you're also talking about all of the fucking nonprofit industrial complex that
Absolutely.
makes up the grifters of the party. Like, what do you like?
All those
Planned
think
Parenthood.
tanks.
Oh, God.
Planned Parenthood would go out of
Planned
business
Parenthood.
if we had Medicare for all. So what do we
It's
do
true.
with that contradiction?
It's true. Yeah, you can't have these money-making operations, for God's sake.
It's not even about profit so much. It's that it's a PMC institution. It's something that
It's lobbying and influence and
Yes.
careerism.
Yes, it's something that
Patronage,
nice
yeah.
girls do for 2 years so they can have something to put on their law school application.
It's
I
sort of
mean,
like a submerged
it's Teach for
patriot-
America for girl bosses.
It's like you know what it is? You know what it is? It's the 21st century version of the old patronage system in like Democratic Party cities, like Tammany Hall shit, where it would be
Yeah.
like, garbage collector or,
Absolutely.
like collector of deeds or whatever. Now it's these jobs with think tanks and NGOs and shit. It has the same function. It like adheres these people to the institutions that are their patrons.
And it
Not to
blows so
mention,
fucking
you
much
saw
because,
that immediately in the South,
yeah,
Yeah.
and it blows,
right? I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
no,
how
the
do
so
you
much 'cause
PhD
they have
networks
no
just
fucking-
snapped into going.
they have no fucking. They're the only service providers for so many people. Like they are genuinely essential. Like I mean, in an immediate sense, politically, they need to be like completely absorbed into a big, evil Soviet-style healthcare system. But like, I stopped donating to them and I started giving like my money to like just basically an abortion fund because I'm like, I can't earmark this to go to actual health care. I know you're going to just spend half of it on fucking these dumb emails I get being like, we're having a symposium with women of color to discuss the trauma of Trump. It's like, Jesus Christ, bitch, just give people abortions.
Yeah. Or start
and they're
doing
like pivoting away from that, by the way.
No.
You
They
guys,
should-
I think I know how socialism is going to come to America. I've seen it. I've seen a vision. So disgruntled boomers who really want to get a fucking awesome blossom just start occupying spontaneously Chili's and accidentally creating worker co-ops just like in the pursuit of getting back to going out to main chain restaurants. And then it
Cheesecake
accidentally
syndicate
creates
system.
like a new socialist, like cooperative hegemony.
Applebee's is going to be the new coffee clutch.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Liz's idea was to have free elective aesthetic surgeries.
Yeah,
And
Medispa
operation.
for all.
Yeah.
which I really liked. It's still unclear. I believe that double D breast implants are included in that, which is why I've sort of become more. I'll tell you what. I was a McKelwee guy. Now I'm a Liz guy. Even though he
right.
technically does have double Ds.
He's got those tiggles.
That's not soy.
To
That's fake meat.
to slightly change direction. Well, now you guys, like I did promise this at the beginning of the episode, but
Yes,
I would
yes,
like to.
please.
I would like to open up our third eyes now. I'd like to just like get on some real get some. I want to be vibrating at like a pretty high frequency here, and I do sort of a sort of lightning round of like EP files, like the real TrueAnon shit. This is the new. You guys are the news source that I go to know about things like this. So I'm just gonna go through a couple quick hits here, and if you could like explicate for us as best you can quickly. Certain concepts, ideas, some fools may even call them conspiracy theories. So to begin with, can you explain for me what is the 5G conspiracy like for dummies here? Like what does 5G have to do with the coronavirus and brainwashing humanity?
It's very simple. It's another G. And maybe it gave us coronavirus, but are you willing to give up that G?
I mean, it's faster internet, but like, what do we get? Like, what's the trade off here?
The idea is that it operates at a wavelength that it becomes unhealthy. Like that that the wavelength that it's operating at is able to like destabilize like either through like radiation or like, make you immunocompromised, et cetera, et cetera. And there's like various kind of, I love how I'm answering this very seriously, but there's like various kind of avenues you can go down the 5G community there. I will say that, people don't really know the history of the kind of like, this sounds insane, but like, the telecom lobby really like quieting a lot or suppressing a lot of actual scientific evidence about like
that's the
cell
thing.
phones causing cancer and technology being really, really bad for our health. And I think like, I don't know. I think I have 5G. I'm pretty sure because we're always the
Cooking your
test
goddamn
case.
mitochondria.
It's
I
like so
know.
these waves are like going to give us all the stomach vagina from Videodrome, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Like we are becoming the new flesh through 5G.
I will
Okay,
say
but
that
I understand the fears of 5G because I remember for a while in Ireland there were massive protests because they didn't want it. But I don't. So do the 5G conspiracy theorists not believe that coronavirus is like a virus? Do they believe that these are actually the effects of some kind of 5G thing.
Well, from what I understand is that like it has to do with more compromising the immune system, so it makes it easier to die
Okay.
from
Coronavirus would have been a big
Okay.
deal without
But,
5G.
which is like, if you read about it, like there's some. I mean, I say keep an open
Look,
mind.
the cruise ships all have 5G. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
but the
I
other
mean,
thing,
what I don't understand is how could you just assume that having all of these rays zapping through us every second of every day, could you just assume that's okay?
yeah,
if you're a sheeple, it's real
People
easy.
used to just drink
I think
arsenic.
so, because,
There was
like, we
lead
are
in the pipes
constantly
of the Roman
exposed to
aqueducts.
radiation.
You know, it's like we don't know. No,
cascading.
people were
Yeah.
people used to put their feet into these machines that had X-rays just to see if their shoes fit, and they all got fucking testicular cancer because who could tell?
Because they put their dick in it.
How do we know like what more subtle things are being done by all of these things that we have no say in?
I
Put
will
up a
say
5G
is
tower, and it's like, yeah, we have that now.
I've
If
actually- I
your
hate the
body starts
fucking-
melting. Fuck you.
I
will
actually,
say-
the only thing I get really mad at is like the airport, because my whole thing with it's like we're being bombarded by radiation constantly every day of our lives, actually. But like the airport thing does make me mad. It's like if you are getting X-rayed constantly, like if you're a frequent flyer, like that's not good. Also,
Or
those
if you
things
work
don't work.
there. If you
Yes,
work there.
yes. Also,
Like those TSA agents, who knows what they're being exposed to?
Yeah.
Like it was the guys who operated the X-ray machine with the foot thing that got cancer. It wasn't the person who put their foot in one time.
Mm-hmm.
well, the reason you see that, like, there's this large, I guess, concern in the government that we are falling behind China because I can't pronounce their name. Huawei.
Wait. I think we should all get those phones.
Well,
Those are cool.
Yeah, Huawei is making leaps and bounds and advances in 5G, and America is falling behind. But they don't really say like why we're falling behind. We're falling behind because that 5G is like the key to automation, because it can make things not have to be connected to Wi-Fi, but they can basically function at like Wi-Fi level speeds. And so, like, yeah, if you want to lose your job, definitely be pro 5G. Like, make fun of 5G conspiracy. I'm saying
Okay,
this.
so you're saying we need to do some like destructions of these 5G towers, but not because of kooky conspiracy theories, just out of good old fashioned Luddite self interest.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is
Like smashing the stocking machines.
Exactly. Like that's like it's a large part for me. It's this new phase I've entered is that, like, yes, when people are like, oh, what? Like, you don't think there should be cell phones? Absolutely not. 100% not. I don't think there should be TV. It's like
that's just because you don't know how to turn yours on.
That is.
Where am I going to watch my
Technically
programs,
true.
Grace? Where am
But,
I going
like,
to watch my
it's-
programs?
But the thing is, like, 5G.
He needs to know what's going to happen to Bosch.
The other thing, I will say, for all you, many of my enemies, for some reason, are hikers. I don't know what's up with that. I will say, for you
Same.
hiker motherfuckers out there, 5G, the way that the sort of the way that the signals actually exist, like in the air, blocks weather satellites. So we're never going to be able to get accurate reads of weather again.
Oh, take a
Which
hike.
is very
but-
convenient.
Take
I
a
will
hike,
say.
buddy.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
So yeah,
Earth
so
might be
moving
warming,
on
we
from
can't tell.
5G, and Brace, you brought up the China connection. So this is my next thing that's sort of more in vogue on the right. What do we make of like the Wuhan disease research facility being the causing the outbreak of, as Mike Racine is calling it now, the General Tso's virus?
We're talking China virus?
Yeah, we're talking China
But,
Kung
like,
flu.
was it engineered in a Chinese laboratory?
well,
I don't think it was engineered based on this, from what I've read about the structure of the virus.
What's this deal? Somebody
I
said
will
that there's
say
that Jeffrey
that-
Epstein's DNA is in it or something.
No,
Well,
there
his
is the
DNA is
idea
on a lot of
that
things.
there is the theory that this was the dead man switch, which I kind of like, even though I don't believe that.
I like
But
that.
I do think that it escaped the virology lab. I'm anti-wet market. I don't buy the wet market.
Okay, so you think it was just being studied? It was a natural thing that was being studied in the lab. It hadn't been
Yeah,
created
yeah.
there, and then it
So
just
this was
escaped.
this is a Captain
Kind of like
Tripp
SARS.
scenario.
I mean,
yeah.
that happened, as well. I mean, I do think it's like, everyone's like, man, it's crazy how they have these wet markets, and then that virus just traveled, and you're like, hey, but what about how there's that like one highly crazy level 4 virology lab over there that studies bat viruses?
here's the thing: is like, Yes, I mean, I will say people have good instincts because they hear this from the U.S. government and they don't believe it. So that is what you should do pretty much universally.
Oh, yeah.
But we came up with this theory before. We didn't come up with it, but we were propagating this theory before because there is this virology lab there. The thing is, and this is not based on nothing, because if we're looking at SARS-type viruses escaping from labs in China. First of all, viruses escape from labs all the time, not just in China, all over the fucking place. In fact, I remember even anthrax escapes from labs occasionally, especially in places like America.
Hey, remember that right after
sometimes
9/11?
it gets smuggled out in envelopes from Fort Detrick.
The Chinese Institute of Virology in, I believe, Beijing had SARS escape twice from it about 15 years ago. And so this is absolutely not out of the question. The wet market thing was just like, well, it probably from China.
But it is a little strange, like the obsession with the wet market thing, which is just like, it's literally just a market.
Yeah,
and like 100%, I am not a cultural relativist. I think at this point we can be like, hey, how about let's not eat bats? But like the kind of weird, like, you know, Indiana Jones cutscene fantasies that people are having about this are deranged. It's like, it's a very weird time to get all Upton Sinclair. I mean, again, we should probably not eat bats. But like half of our fucking lettuce gets recalled because it's like downstream of like human sewage. Like, it's probably like, you know, whatever, open air meat markets, which I don't know why they keep saying wet. Like, why does it have to, like, that's just what any third world country, like, or third world region, like, has tons of. That's how you sell food.
Theory on it. This is my theory because I don't know if I should say this on the, well, whatever, is that they are, so there was like a 60 Minutes interview a while back with some like big fancy doctor or whatever. I never trust the big fancy ones. And he was saying, he was like really pushing the wet market theory. So they're really pushing the wet market theory. And he was saying that we are going to get more and more diseases because the practice of basically like too many animals being together and like we need to move to a plant-based diet. Right? He was using it as like a way to sell all of this. And
maybe we could develop things, you know, maybe there could be economic development.
But there's like a big cash grab going for like, you know, massive like soy production and, you know, at big ag basically
Liz,
trying to move away.
Go to bed.
Anyway, that's my conspiracy.
Soy fear.
Well,
They're going to use it to finally turn us all into soy boys.
No, they're going to turn us into bug men. We're going to have to eat bugs.
Regardless, like, I mean, whatever, soy's great. Regardless, like,
The night of the long spoons is coming.
It does betray their mindset where they're like, well, the problem is here that this heretofore very common, even in the U.S. way of selling food, maybe produces superbugs, which I find totally plausible. It's, you know, it's not
Traditionally how these things start.
But like the answer to that is not, oh, like there should be like food and safety standards that have to operate in coordination with like massive industrial development. It's like, well, we'll just eat grass.
Yeah. How about we'll do boutique cud.
Yes.
Totally.
Oh God, little cubes, little green cubes.
We referenced it just briefly, but as long as we're talking about deadly diseases escaping from level 4 government bioweapons labs, the anthrax letters thing that happened right after 9/11.
Yeah.
Never found out who did that, and it seemed like the investigation stopped when they realized that the anthrax strain that was sent was created in Fort Detrick, Maryland.
Oh no!
Yeah,
and
the
then
US
the one guy they
government did
accused
that.
killed himself, so it closed the investigation.
Well,
they didn't have to have a trial.
I'm saying if you want to get something like the Patriot Act passed really quickly with nobody reading it because they're all too afraid to go to their offices and they're afraid for their lives because you know they're under threat. Because if you remember these
Tom
letters
Daschle
said classic phrases like "death to Israel" and like "Allah fucking rocks."
We have this anthrax. That's my favorite line from the
Exactly. They hounded this one guy. It wasn't him, and they hounded another guy, and that guy, you know,
topped
let's just
himself,
say-
quote
well,
unquote.
I'll just say he died. I don't know. Who, I'm not sure who did it. And there we go. Case closed. It doesn't matter.
Over.
They
This
spread
government created and milled anthrax. It only existed in the most secure U.S. Chemical and biological weapons lab.
I mean, it's like, I don't know what you want to call that, but like that doesn't. So you're telling me that just like this guy who had access to all this anthrax just snapped, but nobody noticed that he snapped until the FBI hounded him to death? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense.
And then would write letters with things like Muslims rule written.
Yeah.
to Tom Brokaw or whatever.
Total Black's Rule situation.
Total Black's Rule situation. Exactly.
All right. Well, okay. We're running long here, but hey, why not? I got two more things for you. I got two more things for you. The first one is the firm of SKD Knickerbocker. And their connections to the Biden campaign, Weinstein shit, and a lot of really weird stuff. I bring this up because on the TrueAnon account, you quote tweeted someone who like did a little bit of amateur sleuthing. They got out there.
Molly.
Shout out to Molly Lambert.
Yeah, their magnifying glass and fedora, and got into it. And it was specifically the language of that Biden was using to court sort of erstwhile Bernie supporters. And he said something along the lines of like, "I see you, I hear you." And then this was connected to the exact same phrasing was used by, I think, Audrey Gelman when the Wing furloughed like hundreds of workers in like their sort of PR statement about furloughing Wing employees. And you see this phrase crop up a lot in things like this. And the common denominator to all of them is the work of this firm, SKD Knickerbocker. So it's like this is their kind of template for empathetic sounding language to cover their like various nefarious dealings. So could you give us a brief overview on who are SKD Knickerbocker?
Well, they're a public relations firm, which means, there's going to be a time, I don't know when, if it's soon, it's probably going to be in a long time. Where
Sometime in phase 2.
Exactly. This is phase 4. When I see that, if I see those words next to your name on the list that I'm holding, I believe, what do they call it in the Soviet? 9 grams. And it's run by this woman, Anita Dunn, which is...
She's a demon.
Yeah, absolute demon. But it's wild because I see you, like, if you had, like, for me, it makes sense that the Wing broad was talking about that because, like, I see you is that sort of, like, not like social
Not like
justice.
HR activist, progressive
Exactly.
activist fucking language.
Because there's a hidden sentence right after that, which is "you're valid." I hear you, I see you, you're valid.
Validating
shucks,
feelings.
thank
But
you.
it's so funny because you see all these motherfuckers. You see this with the Weinstein case, especially. Everybody is playing both sides of this because it's all one fucking side. It's all one fucking scam. Me Too is like, I don't know why I get too off topic here, but it's like you see that with that. I mean, the fucking lawyers are working for, literally both sides of the case. David Boies, the lawyer for some of the girls in the Epstein case, was a fucking guy who hired Black Cube for Harvey Weinstein. It's like all of these people, like nobody, I hope people understand, is that literally nobody who's rich or like on TV or on politics cares in any way, even a small way, even a little bit of a way about rape or women's safety or anything like that. They actually hate that.
I want to just what you mentioned the Weinstein thing, and people don't really know this, so now I'm going to lay a truth bomb on them. But like the agent, Creative Artists Agency (CAA) managed Ronan Farrow and Harvey Weinstein, and CAA was aware of what Ronan Farrow was writing for months. They managed the rollout of the entire scandal. So this idea that like again, even that was managed. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand, like, I don't know.
It's so, Joe Biden saying, "I see you" is literally part of like a giant psyop, essentially.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's all like, it's this like, I mean, the Tara Reid thing, they will never ever mention that again. Like the Biden campaign.
Well,
They'll
of
just
course.
refuse
And
to
it shows
comment on
the hollowness of the whole thing because it fits every parameter they ever used for every other case. And now it's not high enough a standard. It's like they've revealed that it was always instrumental.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I mean, even it's Anita Dunn from from this Knickerbocker bullshit. She fucking didn't she like tell Nina Turner that she was like spitting on the legacy MLK? It's like,
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah.
The chutzpah.
Listen, like, yes, these people also don't care about like racism or black people either. So like, you can stop taking their criticisms of you seriously.
But real quick, Anita Dunn is involved in the Biden presidential campaign.
Yes.
Right? They
She's
are
an advisor.
yes.
Spokeswoman.
Yeah, she's a spokeswoman and advisor to the Biden campaign. So,
And she, I mean, for
watch
those
this
of-
space. Big things coming from SDK Knickerbocker,
Well, for
Joe
those of
Biden,
people-
and TrueAnon.
For those people who didn't who didn't read that Intercept article, I mean, Tara Reid went to Time's Up, who, by the way, held events at the fucking CAA offices, which is like totally insane and dark and like it.
The agencies
really
are
creepy.
basically the fucking mafia of Hollywood. But
Oh,
And
God,
it's
yes.
like that the public relations firm that Time's Up had contracted with. That Time's Up, the place that Tara Reid went to go to help her, tell her story about Joe Biden, sexually assaulting her. They turned it down. Of course, they're managed by somebody, or public relations is managed by somebody who's literally on the Biden campaign.
Yep.
It's all fucking
Sneaky,
psyop.
sis.
Yeah, and I just think, Brace, you mentioned it earlier, but just the phrase "I see you, you are valid" is like the Queen of Diamonds in this scenario. This is like it's
100%.
it's the code word. It's the
That's
code
also
word.
what you're supposed to say when you're invoking Moloch at Bohemian Grove.
oh my god,
It's
Moloch, I
really,
see you. Moloch, you are valid.
it's also what you say when someone you realize that someone's masturbating on a Zoom call.
I see you.
Speaking of which, okay, this is the last one. I do see you, Brace. I'm doing air sex right now, actually.
Brace, don't
Are
do
you
that.
ready for the air sex?
So, all right, this is the last one, and this is TrueAnon Mark 1. I got to bring it up, but because I've been seeing more and more about it recently, and it's something that we've never broached yet with you guys. The Bill Gates connection to the Ep files. Tell me about Bill Gates.
I hate Bill Gates. First of all,
So evil.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a story that resurfaced recently about an employee of one of his IT guys got arrested for child pornography at Bill Gates' house where he worked in like 2004. But beyond that, Bill Gates, as many people know,
He's got a big house, Brace. Come on.
He does have a big. He should be a big.
Yeah,
and
it's-
one day he'll be in the big house. Too. It's the thing is with Bill Gates. Bill Gates is such an incredible piece of shit. Incredible piece of shit. He is first and foremost a eugenicist who his big concern is going to Africa and being like, you know what? You shouldn't have kids because it's bad for the environment.
People with the smallest carbon footprint in the world.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck is he doing with all the foreskins? He's so obsessed with circumcising dudes. What is he doing with the fucking
Wait.
skins?
Hold on. You're touching on an issue I actually care about. Bill
You
Gates.
guys should do
Love snipping dicks.
I mean, I
Wait,
know
so Bill Gates
I'm
is
sure
a
you've
big
got a bunch of
proponent?
stuff on Bill Gates, but you guys should do something relatedly just about the horrible corruption of like the World Health Organization,
Yes.
which does absolutely nothing except like take money from Bill Gates and like every once in a while release like a policy briefing that recommends everyone breastfeed their children till they're 7 years old. Like,
I mean,
Philanthropy exists
just
to
real
launder
quick.
the reputation of the bourgeoisie and nothing else.
Real quick,
freaks me
though.
out
Real
about-
quick.
well,
Wait,
the
hold
scary
on.
thing is now it's becoming a sector of government. Like now these fucking things are crucial like state organs now.
yeah, they everyone forgets. It's like what's the organization that sounds like an institution, but it's actually just like a lobbying group for business?
Chamber of
Chamber of
Commerce?
Commerce. It's like the Chamber of Commerce. The World Health Organization
those-
sounds very official and democratic and governmental. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it is a bloated think tank run by an insane eugenicist.
Yeah, and like
The
things
Chamber
like
of Commerce is also like some of the worst bad guys in the entire world.
Like the
Okay,
Clinton
hold on,
Foundation
hold
So
on.
is the
literally
World Health
drank-
Organization.
The Clinton Foundation runs its own sweatshops in Haiti. That's what philanthropy is.
yes.
They
Yeah,
like
look
have
up-
a Paris state with their own waiver
Before
pool.
before we get too
And,
far
like, and,
afield,
like- but I just want to say one thing about Bill Gates. One more thing.
Oh, poor Will.
Bill Gates to me is horrifying because if I was like retired and had $100 billion, I would probably be trying to build like a life-size version of one of those Jaegers from Pacific Rim. And this guy This guy is going around Africa like Pac-Man, gobbling up all the foreskins.
Yeah.
What kind of fucking weirdo would do that?
I know. He
Okay.
doesn't seem to have any fun, which makes him somehow more terrifying than like a Richard Branson.
Okay, I wasn't even aware of this. Like I said, now we're touching on an issue I actually care about. 2 questions. What the fuck is Bill Gates? Why is he he's a big circumcision proponent? And 2,
Dude, he is.
what is his
he's
Epstein
doing.
connection?
Oh,
Is he just wants every male child to be circumcised because it like technically lowers your risk for transmitting AIDS or HPV
That's
or
the
something
reason.
like that?
Yes.
Okay.
It lowers. It's a classic technocratic fix.
Right.
Not going to
Like,
happen.
What is it?
Not
Just
gonna give-
hack off the
Because
person.
HIV has been basically cured in the West.
They don't
And
need
you could, like,
hospitals or medication.
You could extend treatment to make AIDS much less of a death sentence in Africa. You could do that, or you could just chop the dicks off to make a slight decrease in the likelihood that they contract it.
Okay,
Wait,
so
I-
and
And then die from it because they can't afford the fucking
my
medication.
message to Bill Gates, the Clinton Foundation, the World Health Organization, if you're coming for my foreskin, Molan Lab, come and take it. Come and take it from my cold, dead penis. But that's the only way you're getting it. That's the only way you're getting it.
The thing is with
I want to regrow mine to spite Bill Gates.
I mean, I got plenty, guys. If you guys my parents actually, I'll say it. My parents, when I was like 9, I asked my dad why my penis had the thing on it, like the foreskin, because I'm Jewish, and like I had seen like enough other little kids' penises to realize that like mine was different. Also, because it was quite substantially larger at the time. And he was like, "You're circumcised." I'm like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Wait, what?" He didn't know, and I'm like, "Didn't you like bathe me when I was a baby?" It's like, "You've seen, I'm 9. Like you've seen." I couldn't dress myself until recently. Like, I'm not sure. What? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess we forgot. There was a lot going on back then."
We're busy.
Before Chris kills me for making this like 4 hours of work for him.
Sorry, Chris.
What is the thing about Bill Gates' connection to Epstein? Because didn't I see something about someone very close to Bill Gates was like managing all of Epstein's personal money?
Yes.
And then his
Yes.
estate?
Isn't he the executor?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that guy also, what was his fucking name? He was involved in a company that's now doing some of the big coronavirus treatments, or vaccines.
Yeah,
They
because
are-
that's the thing. Some
along
people are
with Bill
talking about like,
Gates.
I don't want Epstein DNA in my coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah, Boris Nikolic is his name.
Yeah, like that's a conspiracy theory that he's like his weird panspermia like a fetish he had about like inseminating the world. He's gonna do it by having his DNA placed in all of the coronavirus vaccines.
Well, the thing is,
Jeez.
so two
I believe
things-
it. I believe it.
I'm not gonna believe anything if it comes to Epstein. I've like I took the bumpers off of the bowling lane. I'll go anywhere with that.
There's two things. There's two basically main people that are close to both Epstein and Bill Gates. Of course, the two men knew each other pretty well too. There's Boris Nikolic, who is just one of these fucking lackey toady motherfuckers who will always be like 3/4 of the way up the food chain or halfway up the food chain, but never fully at the top. He was the one who really like introduced Epstein and Bill Gates. Epstein, of course, hung out with like every single mother. I mean, we're talking fucking
Oh yeah,
Bezos, like
Jeffrey loves to socialize.
yes. Also, by the way, all this is happening after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested,
Of course.
and of course given a very light sentence for rape of
Weird.
young children.
Yeah, weird.
But with Gates and Epstein is that basically Gates laundered Epstein's money,
Yes.
sent it to MIT.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the thing that blows. Like, what is the deal there? Why?
And
did he go-
Harvard. Not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
MIT.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like, I knew Jeffrey because I wanted him to donate. It's like, you're Bill Gates. What are you talking
Well,
about?
the thing is, and there's a really funny quote from Bill Gates where he's like in an email that they have where he's like, "Mr. Epstein certainly has an interesting lifestyle. It's not for me, but I can see why he does it." It's like
Oh my
the only
God.
notable thing about Jeffrey Epstein's lifestyle is the fact that he had sex with children. Like,
Bill Gates is like, Jeffrey, I see you. I hear you. You're valid.
valid. And of course, now this Boris Nikolic, who by the way has one of the fattest faces in human history. I mean,
Oh,
it is,
it's huge.
it's what we used to call, my friends and I used to call a super face. It's or a moon head. But Boris Nikolai-
Okay. Let's,
Oh, no,
Amber,
Amber.
Stop insulting Amber.
Hoops are out.
there are moonheads and there are moonheads. Some people find the moon emoji very erotic.
Sweetheart.
Amber has one of sort of more like a Jupiter moon head. It's one of the smaller of like the 60 or 70 that orbit
You could
that
fit
planet.
about 30. You know how people are like, look how many Earths the sun could fit in it.
Yeah.
You could fit like 15 Amber heads in Boris Nikola's head.
Damn.
So don't worry about it, baby. You're all good. But I mean, I do think this is pretty crazy because this happened recently. This happened this decade, years after everybody knew what Epstein was.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, he was hanging out with all these other rich people. But the thing with Bill Gates is concerning is because Bill Gates drives a lot of the discussion and the research and basically everything to do with public health worldwide, especially in third world countries, like the kind of countries that Jeffrey Epstein bought slaves from. And
Yeah.
it's like, if you don't fucking think, if you think that, I mean, there are still some people who are like, look, it says health in it. That means it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
And it
Bill
sounds
Gates-
official.
exactly.
And Trump doesn't like it, so it
Yes.
has to be good.
Yeah. Bill Gates' idea, his fucking idea, is to put something called microdots, which are basically like little nanotechnology things that you can scan into every single person on Earth. And I'm not making this up. He has like talked about this explicitly in at length. The reason
The
I know
mark
about
of the
it,
beast.
He literally, exactly, it's the Antichrist mark of the beast, but like it's to show that you've had your vaccines. So like he's
Cool.
like, well, the way we could get back to work after coronavirus is if everybody gets a microdot tattoo, a miniature, like you can't see it, tattoo that's able to be scanned from some kind of device that shows that you're up to date on your coronavirus vaccine or whatever vaccine is next. And that seems a little perverse to me.
What could go
Yeah,
wrong?
I don't think that the reason he wants to do that has anything to do with vaccines.
Yeah.
He wants to keep you healthy.
It just sounds like a technocratic fix to the issue.
Well, no, it's just a way to shoehorn in other,
Well,
great
yeah,
leap forward,
that's-
right?
Nothing insidious would be done with microdots.
That's
They're gonna-
the thing, though.
They're going to inject you with a vaccine that contains Jeffrey Epstein's DNA.
Yep.
And a microdot with nanotechnology that will make your foreskin fall off.
Yes.
That's it. I'm done.
Yes.
I'm a vaccine truther now. I think we should sign off on that note.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Liz,
Protect your
embrace TrueAnon. Always a joy to talk to you guys. If you're
Yes.
not, if you have not liked and subscribed to their show yet, please do so. Gang, until next time, let's see that air sex, everybody. Let's do it.
Are you ready for the Essex girls?
See that stroke game, guys and gals. Let's do it. I think there should be a girl version of air sex.
Absolutely.
100%.
Never.
All right, guys. Cheers.
All right.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.